Welcome back to Audiobook Bay. Today, we're diving deep into Radical Candor by Kim Scott, a revolutionary framework for how to lead people, give feedback, and build genuine trust in organizations of all sizes and industries around the world. Kim Scott spent over 20 years in leadership positions at some of the world's most demanding organizations, including Google and Apple. She's fired people who weren't working out. She's been fired herself. She's managed superstars who accelerated her career and people who struggled significantly. She's navigated difficult conversations in literally every direction you can imagine. Through all of these experiences, she learned one essential principle that changed everything about how she approaches leadership and relationships. The managers who got the best out of their teams weren't necessarily the nicest people, and they weren't the toughest either. They were the people who genuinely cared deeply about the people they led, while simultaneously challenging them directly to grow. Scott developed a simple but powerful framework that changed how millions of leaders around the world think about their jobs and their relationships with their teams. It starts with a 2x2 matrix. On one axis, you have caring personally about the people you lead. On the other axis, you have challenging them directly to improve and grow. Where you fall on this matrix determines your leadership effectiveness and your actual impact on people's careers and lives. Takeaway 1. Radical candor is the intersection point where you care deeply about someone as a human being and you challenge them directly to grow and improve. Most managers live in one of three dysfunctional places that ultimately leave people worse off. They either care but don't challenge, leading to what Scott calls ruinous empathy. They challenge but don't care, leading to obnoxious aggression. Or they do neither, leading to manipulative insincerity. All three approaches undermine trust and performance. None unlock human potential. Imagine a manager who likes their employee and never gives critical feedback. The employee stays mediocre because they don't know what to improve. Years pass and they're still at the same level while peers advance. The manager felt kind, but they robbed their employee of growth. Or imagine the opposite. A boss gives harsh, critical feedback, but the employee feels attacked rather than coached. They become defensive and resentful. The feedback doesn't land. Both approaches fail. Think about one person you lead or influence. Which quadrant are you in? Do you care about them? Are you challenging them? Can you shift toward the corner where you do both? Takeaway 2. When you genuinely care personally and challenge directly at the same time, people know you want the best for them and you're willing to tell them the truth. This combination builds loyalty and trust faster than almost anything else you can do as a leader and as a human being. People desperately want this combination, but most leaders never provide it. Think about the people who have made the biggest difference in your life. The teachers, coaches, or mentors who helped you grow. Most of them combined genuine care with direct challenge. They made you feel valued and they also pushed you beyond what you thought was possible. That's radical candor. That's what people remember and appreciate for decades. That's what transforms careers. Identify one person who exemplifies this for you. What specifically did they do that made you feel both cared for and challenged? Could you offer that same combination to someone else? Takeaway 3. Ruinous empathy is when you deeply care about someone but you avoid giving them honest feedback because you don't want to hurt them or make them uncomfortable. The tragic result is that you let them stay bad at their job or their craft. They don't improve because they don't know they need to. You're protecting them from short-term discomfort while stealing their long-term growth. Scott shares the story of an engineer who had brilliant technical ideas but always presented them in confusing ways during meetings. His coworkers and managers cared about him, so nobody told him. Nobody said your ideas are good, but your communication is unclear, and it's blocking your career growth. Years later, he never got promoted, never led a team, and never realized why. The caring was actually cruel. Think about someone in your life, right now, who might benefit from honest feedback that you're avoiding because you don't want to hurt them. What would change if you had that conversation? Takeaway 4. Obnoxious aggression is when you tell people hard truths without showing you actually care about them as human beings. Your feedback might be accurate and on point, but it lands as an attack rather than guidance. People become defensive and shut down rather than listening and learning and growing from the feedback. The message gets completely lost in a defensive reaction. A boss might say that presentation was a disaster, and you're clearly not ready for client meetings. Technically true maybe, but the delivery creates shame rather than clarity. The person hears criticism and judgment, not care. They hear you think they are incompetent, so they stop listening. They don't hear the actionable feedback about what they could improve. The challenge without care backfires. Relationships suffer. People leave. Have you ever received feedback that landed as obnoxious aggression? How did you respond? What would have changed if the person had shown genuine care alongside the challenge? Takeaway 5. Manipulative insincerity is the worst combination possible. You don't actually care about the person, and you're not being honest with them either. This is what most corporate communication looks like. Leaders deliver carefully worded messages that say nothing real or meaningful. It's political. It's protective. It's inauthentic. People don't trust it, and they rightly shouldn't. You see this in performance reviews where everything is positive, but the person gets fired 3 months later. You see it in meetings where leaders smile and say all the right things, but you sense nothing beneath the surface. You see it in email communications that could mean anything. People can smell inauthenticity from miles away. It erodes trust immediately and thoroughly. Notice this week when you're tempted to communicate inauthentically. When do you filter your honesty for political reasons? What would change if you brought more authenticity? Takeaway 6. Scott shares concrete techniques for having hard conversations effectively. Before you give feedback, ask yourself a simple question. Would I say the same thing to someone I loved? If not, don't say it. This simple filter ensures your feedback is rooted in genuine care and concern rather than judgment or anger or frustration. A parent doesn't tell their child you're stupid, but a manager might tell an employee essentially the same thing disguised in professional language. The parent cares deeply, so they find a better way. They might say, I notice you're rushing through your work and missing details. Let's figure out how to slow down and check your work. Same message, but care-based. This filter changes everything about how feedback lands. Before your next difficult conversation, run it through this filter. Would you say it to someone you love? If not, revise until you would. This is the path to radical candor. Takeaway 7. When delivering feedback, be specific and humble. Describe exactly what you observed and your interpretation of it. Acknowledge that you could be wrong. Invite dialogue instead of delivering a verdict. This approach creates space for growth rather than triggering defensiveness. It opens conversation instead of shutting it down. The other person becomes a partner in the discussion rather than a defendant in a trial. Instead of you're not a team player, which is vague and accusatory, you might say, I noticed in the last 2 meetings you didn't build on other people's ideas. I interpreted that as you not valuing their input, but I could be wrong. What was really going on? This invites conversation. It shows care. It challenges directly. It's radical candor. Practice this framework in your next feedback conversation. Be specific about what you observed. Name your interpretation. Invite dialogue. See how differently the conversation goes. Takeaway 8. Radical candor applies far beyond management and work situations. In every single relationship, you're tempted to choose silence to keep peace or to be harsh to assert yourself. The better path is always to care and challenge at the same time in every context. This applies to your marriage and your friendships. It applies to how you parent your children. It applies to conversations with extended family. It's a universal principle for building strong relationships. A spouse might avoid a difficult conversation about finances or household responsibilities because they don't want conflict. They care too much to challenge. Years pass and resentment builds. The relationship erodes slowly, or they might have the conversation harshly without care. The partner hears attack. Defensiveness follows. Neither approach serves the relationship. The couples who thrive have learned radical candor. Look at one important relationship in your life. How could you bring more radical candor? What would be better served by honest, caring challenge? Takeaway 9. One of Scott's most powerful insights is that people actually want to be challenged. Most of us go through life dying with our music still inside us. We don't pursue what we're truly capable of because nobody challenged us or showed us what was possible. A leader who genuinely pushes you is one of the greatest gifts you can receive. It unlocks potential you didn't know you had. The greatest gift is sometimes a challenge from someone who believes in you. Think about your own life. Who challenged you? Who believed you could do something you didn't believe you could do? What changed when someone had faith in your potential? That's the power of radical candor. That's why it matters so deeply. Identify one person who has untapped potential. Communicate both belief in them and direct challenge. Tell them specifically what you think they could achieve and what's in the way. Let them feel that you believe in them. Takeaway 10. Ultimately, radical candor is about building relationships based on genuine truth and genuine love at the same time. When you have that combination, you unlock human potential in yourself and others. You create teams that innovate, perform at high levels, and actually enjoy their work because they trust their leader. You create relationships that survive difficulty and grow stronger. This framework works because it respects human dignity while being honest. It acknowledges people's potential while acknowledging they're not there yet. It combines acceptance with challenge in the most powerful way. That's what transforms relationships and careers and organizations. Get this book and revolutionize how you lead people and show up in relationships. Start with one person and one conversation. Let them feel that you care about them and you believe they can grow. That's radical candor. That's how you make a real difference in someone's life. Thank you for joining us on Audiobook Bay. Pick up Radical Candor today and learn how to care personally and challenge directly in your work and your relationships. Your people are waiting for this kind of authentic leadership. See you next time.